that lack of trust is coming through to us from very well respected and successful academics and scientists.
I call the honourable member Tracy Martin.
Kia ora. Kia ora, Mr Chair. Thank you very much. I'd like to just pick up on a couple of comments from my Green colleague David Clendon. First of all, the Education and Science Select Committee works really well together. And, or up to this point it has. We've got the Education Amendment Bill. It could change from here. But it works very well together, and it was a process where we did discuss, particularly at the front of the bill, trying to get as clear a picture as we could under the restraints that we had. So under the time constraints, I take on board the comments by David Clendon about that we were asked to take these things on trust. I believe that there is a very fine line between governance and management, and that this bill is one of those situations where there is a level of trust one is going to have to take. Remember that New Zealand First was the only party to vote against this bill at first reading, and then we listened to the submitters and we listened to those people that came to us, and while there may not be many, and that may be a reflection of the tight time frame, which again we protested against, we would prefer to see the process take its course. They were very clear that they needed an institution like this. So, because that's part of what New Zealand First believes is their job, which is to listen to the people actually with the expertise inside the industries, actually out there doing the job, we have changed our position. We have placed on record and again voiced in the Select Committee process to make it as clear as possible in the commentary of the bill our understanding of the level of trust that is being placed in the Minister and in the government going forward about what they have said this bill is intended to do. Now, I do, however, want to address a couple of things, particularly while we have the Minister in the chair, because he's a particularly busy Minister, and it's not often that I can get to speak to him directly. So, I think, first of all, I want to recognise that there are two things that are not addressed in this bill. The first is there is still a gap. There is still a gap with regard to research funding for aquaculture. And so, and that's the other thing I think I need to pick up on from David Clendon's comments. Aquaculture. I never got the impression that this was the only research funding institute that was going to exist. So that's not my understanding that this is the only entity that is going to exist. My understanding is that it's, yes, Mr King, I understand that it has got selected areas that it's going to be in, but aquaculture is not there, and so to have the research to take from one research point to a commercialisation or a farming point in aquaculture is not addressed, and I would welcome any opportunity that the Minister may give me outside of the House to assist me to find where that funding may come from. The other thing is that there has been no compensation situation addressed to the ratepayers of Auckland for the absorption of the food bowl. And the food bowl was in part paid for by the City of Manukau prior to its absorption into Auckland City. And considering that yesterday there was an intense conversation from the government around the rates of rates, I would have thought that a compensation there might be appropriate. I have a supplementary order paper with regard to a single word being inserted into clause 14(1)(b), and that word came from actually the KiwiNet submission. And I take on board that the officers advising us said that they felt that it was not necessary to insert that word because they believed it was appropriate to assume that if the ATI, the Callaghan Innovation, was engaging, that they would have identified. And I think we all know what assume does when you and I deal with it. I do not believe it is appropriate to assume that just because the Callaghan Innovation will be engaging with some people inside the research area or inside business, that they will know of all. And without the word identify, without making it a specific requirement of the Institute to identify who is doing what, I believe there is a door open there for them to either unintentionally or intentionally, and give themselves a way out, compete. So I'm asking for the government benches to support my supplementary order paper. It's a single word. I believe it adds value to the bill, or I wouldn't have put it in there. And I also just want to make a statement that New Zealand First will be supporting supplementary order paper 154. We see more good in it than bad.
I call the Honourable Member Dr. Megan Wood.
Thank you very much, Mr.